In the beginning, there was only endless darkness. Out of this darkness, two beings were born, the male Kumulipo, whose name means the essence of darkness, and the female Po'ele, whose name means darkness itself. These two created all the creatures of the total darkness, the shellfish that live at the very bottom of the ocean floor, the plants that grow during the dark of night, and the grubs that burrow in the earth. As these creatures were born, the dark became slightly lighter. The first beings gave birth to the male Puliuli, whose name means deep darkness, and the female Powehiwehi, whose name means darkness with a little light. This couple created all the creatures of the almost darkness. They created the fish that swim in the deep seas and land creatures that live almost in darkness. These dark creatures had offspring, and with every new life, the deep darkness of this world got a little brighter. The second couple gave birth to a third, the male Po'elele, whose name means night, and the female Pohaha, whose name means coming into dawn. These two created the creatures of the darkness near dawn, the insects that fly by night, the caterpillar, the grasshopper, and a large egg. The egg hatched into thousands of birds. These were the birds that fly and sing in the hours just before dawn. The fish, the birds, and the insects all had offspring. Each new creature added some light to the darkness, until it was getting closer to the light that we have in the hours before dawn. Next to be born were Po'Panopano and Hulalowehi, who gave birth to sea turtles, lobsters, and other shellfish that live in shallow waters in near darkness. They gave birth to the male Pohi'olo and the female Po'nea'ako. Their names mean night ending. They produced the rat Pilol and Kamapuya, the pig, both creatures of day and night. By this time it was almost dawn, and the earth was already buzzing with the life from so many creations. These two created the first dawn, and light finally came into the world. The first man, Ki'i, and the first woman, La'ila'a, were born. They were both dark, since they were born just at dawn. The first man and first woman had many children. With each generation, their skins became lighter and lighter until they became the color they are now.
Gaia, the earth goddess, was formed from a raging chaos, which existed before time began. She gave birth to Uranus, the sky, who covered her completely with his starry mantle. The two of them became the first husband and wife. They bore many children, most of which were terrible monsters, creatures with 100 arms, and the Cyclops, mighty giants with one eye each. Uranus feared these powerful creations and hid them deep in the earth. This caused Gaia great pain, as she loved her children. She became angry and plotted to destroy her husband. Finally, Gaia gave birth to several gods and goddesses who were not fearful monsters. Among them was Kronos, who was strong enough to overthrow Uranus. Gaia made him a sickle fashioned from the hardest rock she knew, and gave it to her son with instructions. Kronos hid in his mother's shadow until night fell, and Uranus the sky came to earth. When Uranus was resting at last, Kronos sprang from his hiding place and killed his father with one stroke. Thus Kronos became king of the sky in his father's place. He married Rhea, an earth goddess, and had many more children. He created the first race of men made of gold. This was called the Golden Age, when men didn't have to work, and there was no suffering or death. But Kronos was also cruel and feared his children. After each was born, he ate it whole, with the clothes and all, so he would never be overthrown. Rhea was horrified by this, and with the help of her mother Gaia, managed to give birth to her son Zeus in hiding on the island of Crete. She gave her husband a stone wrapped in baby clothes, which he ate in one gulp. Zeus grew quickly to be the most powerful god ever. When he had grown, he returned with an army of Gaia's monsters and the rest of the gods to overthrow Kronos. The war was terrible and went on for years and years and years. All of the men of the Golden Age were killed. Zeus freed his brothers and sisters and built the palace of Olympus, where he ruled the earth and all gods and men. He then married his sister Hera, and they had many children. Zeus had many other women in secret, and they had children too. Soon the world was filled with other gods. Eventually, Zeus decided to create a second race of men to worship the Olympians. These were made of silver. The silver men were foolish and had no respect for the gods. This was the Silver Age, in which nothing was sacred. It did not last long. The irreverent silver men angered Zeus, who hid them away deep in the far corners of the underworld. To replace them, Zeus created a third race of men. These were made of bronze, and this began the Bronze Age. The bronze men were aggressive and warlike. They destroyed each other with such venom that Zeus quickly hid these away too in the underworld. Zeus then made a race of heroes, who were the subject of most of the countless myths in the Hellenic tradition. This was the heroic age, and there were many great men and women born of it. When a hero died, he was given a special place in the underworld, called the Blessed Isles, where it is always light and beautiful. The men of the heroic age too passed away, and gave rise to men of today. The race that lives now is the Iron Race, which is said to be the hardest of all. Men of the Iron Age must toil all of their lives and suffer and die. But the Iron Men are the strongest of all, and will survive the Olympian gods.
Nu was the name of the dark, swirling chaos before the beginning of time. Out of these waters rose Atum. He created himself using his thoughts and the sheer force of his will. He created a hill, for there was nowhere he could stand. Atum was alone in the world. He was neither male nor female, and he had one all-seeing eye that could roam the universe. He joined with his shadow to produce a son and a daughter. Atum gave birth to his son by spitting him out. He named him Shu and made him god of the air. Atum vomited out his daughter. He named her Tefnut and made her the goddess of mist and moisture. Shu and Tefnut were given the task of separating the chaos into principles of law, order, and stability. The chaos was divided into light and dark and set into place. This order was called Maat, which formed the principles of life for all time. Maat was a feather. It was light and pure. Shu and Tefnut produced Jeb, the earth, and Nut, the sky. At first, these two were tangled together as one. Shu, god of the air, pushed Nut up into the heavens. There she would remain, arched out over Jeb, her mate. They longed to be together, but in the name of Maat, they had to be apart to fulfill their functions. Nut produced rain for Jeb, and Jeb made things grow on earth. As the sky, she gave birth to the sun every night before dawn, and by day it would follow its course over the earth and die at sunset. Shu and Tefnut produced the other gods.
Isis, the queen of the gods, Hathor, the goddess of love and beauty, Osiris, the god of wisdom and justice, Seth, the god of evil, Thoth, the god of wisdom, and Nephthys, the protectress of the dead. But the chaos was still vast and not yet fully separated into the order of Maat. Shu and Tefnut once got lost in the dark waters of Nu. Atum was desperate to find his children. He sent his all-seeing eye throughout the heavens and earth to search for them. In time, Shu and Tefnut returned with the eye. When Atum saw them again, he was so delighted that he wept tears of joy. As these tears hit the earth, they became the first men. As the men populated the earth, they had to uphold the truth and balance of Maat. They had the task of tending the earth and worshipping the gods. The gods, in turn, protected and loved their creations.